Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us on our tour here in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm sitting here with Jimmy Moore, JT Lindsay, all with the P Group. Jimmy handles the operations here in Birmingham. I help oversee the real estate operations for the company, and JT oversees the lending operations. We don't want to forget Levi, who's behind the camera running the show right now. That's his hand, liveliest person. But today, we're coming to you live from where we at in Birmingham.
So we are in Hueytown, which is a little just kind of due west of downtown Birmingham, in a development called Pinewood Trace.
Pinewood Trace. And so on the high level, Jimmy, Pinewood Trace is an entire for-rent community. How many units are we talking about?
Yeah.
Of each phase? I kind of hit you on the spot, but we're live.
Yeah, so Pinewood Trace will end up being roughly 29, 30 doors. So we're currently standing in the very first home. It's a completed home. We actually we've leased this one with a scheduled move in about 2 weeks. So phase 2, which will be 12 units, will start the next month to 2, and we'll move through that. And there'll be a progression into phase 3, which will be the remaining units, getting us to that 29 mark.
Great. So just a quick agenda as to what we're going to do here. I think that this live portion is going to take 40-ish minutes, would be my guess. And then we'll record the other. We recorded some good video in front of a new business model that we're working on, and we'll show you towards the end of this as well. So we're going to walk through this completed unit that just rented out.
That's right.
And so sales price on a completed unit like this, what did we say? I forget.
I think we're right around 265.
265. And typically we're going to include some discounts for buying down the interest rate, which JT will tell us about in a minute. We're also going to include a couple of years of property management, just to help give you a nice, easy runway as you get into the rental property ownership business. So this one was just barely completed. It's clean. It looks pretty good. We're going to talk a lot about it, but we literally got an approved rental application yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. And we actually really just put this one and the few others that are completed and ready to rent out in the market last week. So we had a really positive and quick response that resulted in an approved application and a move-in on this one.
What did she say?
So she told me that she didn't know that this development was here, but she's glad it is, and that it's super convenient. She's excited to get in before the holidays, and thought that the rent amount was perfect.
That's great.
So yeah, 1775, and this house that we're standing in, it's a 3-2, 1,400 square feet. This is called the Pinewood model. So as you can see, open layout here. Kind of living room, kitchen. We do put an island in there just to make sure that it has adequate storage for the residents. You've got 2 bedrooms on one side and then a master on the other. It kind of separates, the master from your other bedrooms if you have kids. So you've got good sized bedrooms. Got a full bath here in the hall, obviously for guests as well. Ceiling fans, adequate lighting. And this model has just really worked well for not only investors, but for the residents.
So we got granite counters, and hey, Levi, show us if it will cooperate. But it's not flashy, but it's one of the best things that we've noticed you can do in single family rentals, especially in a warm climate.
That's
like Birmingham. This is a plank LVT flooring. It's moisture resistant, impact resistant. The dog can run around on it. You can drag the couch across the floor. You can drop stuff, because when this tenant moves out in a year, 2, 3, hopefully 10 years, okay? But when they move out, there's going to be very little repair, and you can typically pull any damaged planks out and replace them. Yes,
that's correct. So these are not glue down linoleum floors. They go together just like a normal hardwood or an engineered system, so they snap together. You can easily change them out if needed.
Yeah, follow me, Levi. So kitchen, we've got our cabinets, we've got our stainless steel Whirlpool package, and we've got this granite. A number of years ago on a build-to-rent project, the builder was telling me, "Hey, do granite," and I thought that was crazy. In my experience lately, you can't even do for my, I had a GC tell me that we don't know where to find it.
Yeah.
Right? So not only is it something that is, it's just better and tenants are more expecting it. If you want to get close to 2,000, you gotta have it.
Yeah.
You probably don't have a choice.
That's correct. Yeah, it's kind of one of those features that we've always gotten good feedback on. We source it pretty easily and, do something light that's neutral and just kind of matches the rest of the colors.
Yeah.
The white shaker cabinets are pretty standard, and of course, the stainless appliances.
Now, getting stainless appliances probably 2 years ago was a big chore. Any trouble with that now? The supply chain okay?
No, I would say it's been okay. Yeah, but yeah, 2 years ago, it was a different story. You had to order them in bulk and warehouse them, or get in the truck and go far and pick them up.
Okay.
So yeah, no supply chain issues really with anything right now. So
ceiling fan in each room, important in Birmingham.
Yep.
Tell me about these lights. I can't tell. Are these bonafide can lights or are they the LED discs?
So these are the LED discs, and we've kind of evolved to these over the years, and just for all the reasons we moved to these. Aesthetically, they look better. Obviously, LED, they're more efficient, and they've got a real long lifespan to it.
So fair to say then, I think you alluded to it. It gives you the can light look.
Correct.
But the longevity of LED.
That's right. Exactly. And provides for really kind of a small. That's probably a 3-inch disc. Provides really.
Yeah. Do you think you look at this great room here? You're going to put a table here, probably TV couches up here. But I mean, you think about when a tenant moves out and you have to clean it. This is pretty easy to clean.
Yeah.
Right.
Very easy. Really just kind of going through and doing touch-ups where needed, and doing kind of a good clean for the turn. Yeah.
Some appliance maintenance, maybe some
paint
clean the floor, paint touch up. You can see just same thing. This is very easy. Let's go take a look at the bathroom. When I say the front of the house, the master is the front of the house.
Good sized master, obviously bathroom, and this has kind of been one feature that we've had standard in most homes. Just having a good sized walk-in closet off the master. Get really good feedback on that.
What I like that you did here, by the way, I was listening to a podcast from the founder of Next Metro, one of the biggest build for rent developers in the country. And they took surveys, especially from female tenants, that what do you want to see in the bathroom? You want the double sink. And most of them didn't care about the double sink. They wanted counter space, which
you got it.
Counter space, yeah. I mean, these are the silly things to think about in build to rent, because when that tenant's lease is coming up, you don't want them knocking over their stuff on the counter, not having somewhere to put their trash, not having somewhere to park. Yeah. Because those are the things that say, you know what, I'm out of here. So very good. Let's go check out the back. See it here. Pretty simple. Laundry. Standard for tenants to bring their own washer and dryer here, Jimmy?
That's correct.
Let's check the backyard. Nice, peaceful wooded backyard.
Yeah, great backyard. Again, we were talking about the resident moving in here. She's got 2 small kids, and she said she was excited to have this backyard for them to play in. So
yeah, yep. Good AC unit. Now you can't see very great through here, but through those trees is the road used to access Pinewood Trace. Didn't you just tell me somebody purchased that acreage to develop behind it?
Yeah, across the street's been purchased recently, and you can actually see they're starting to do some light clearing here.
Light clearing, and then they've got a utility crew on the road. I don't know if it's fiber or gas, but they're doing something. There's all the early signs that if you know what to look for of more development coming into the area.
That's right.
Which reminds me, how far to downtown Birmingham?
So I'd say downtown Birmingham, you're going to be right around 20 minutes, 25, just depending on what side. From where we're standing right now, you can be at a Walmart, a Publix, so Winn-Dixie, somewhere around 8 minutes.
Okay.
The schools are close. Probably the furthest school would be the high school, and I'd say that's probably somewhere around 12 to 15 minutes. But everything else is kind of within that 15-minute drive time.
Yeah,
there's downtown.
Right. Tenants who live here, where are they working?
I'd say so residents that live here really would be, there's a lot of really good manufacturing and some big well-known companies that have distribution centers around here, some very active plants. One that actually just had a ribbon cutting last week, the new Smucker's plant. So, it's probably another 300 to 500 jobs of all different pay levels. And then you've got downtown that's got just healthcare, legal field. So really just kind of a mix of all of that. We really see residents in just about every one of those industries.
Smuckers.
So
don't they say with a name like that, it has to be good?
Yeah,
that's a slogan.
The little sandwiches, the little frozen sandwiches. It's one of two plants in the United States. So made right here in Hueytown. So
well, my family is helping the job base here in Hueytown.
Yeah,
my boys plow through those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're sneaky good.
They are.
Yeah,
they are.
Yeah,
especially when they're a little frozen.
Okay. Well, let's check the garage real quick. I mean, who doesn't want to see a garage? Play. Pardon our dust.
Yeah, this will be swept out over the next couple of days. Obviously, now that we've got a resident, and it'd be fine to move a day. But one car garage obviously can be used for vehicle or storage. Yard equipment, kids' toys, etc.
Yeah. In fact, a lot of people park in the driveway and use the garage as storage.
Right.
So it's dusty. I mean, this literally was just completed and leased, and they haven't even had time to clear this stuff out yet. So
yeah.
I have some questions for JT in the kitchen. You up to it?
Yeah.
Let's go in the kitchen. Okay, so single family properties and financing. This qualifies under a model we use called the CO model, which doesn't require a lot of explanation. You buy a house that has its certificate of occupancy that's done, right? So JT, an investor wants to buy this using conventional financing. What do the options look like? What does the process look like? Can you enlighten us?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best option for this property would be conventional financing. That's going to be your standard 30-year fixed interest rate. And the best part about that is a fixed interest rate. So you don't have to worry about, your rate moving all over the place. And then also what's unique to this, which is something that we deviated from, is it is a single family home, which allows for 20% down. Multi-unit, typically you have to do 25, but since this is a single unit, we can go as little as 20% down. So there's some great financing options out there. One of the ones, a lot of people ask me all the time of, hey, what other programs are there? What other, options do I have? We typically default to conventional financing just for the lowest rate, the longest term. And once again, that fixed rate is really important because you're not worried about that rate moving around all the time.
Yeah, and term as well, where on commercial or debt coverage financing, usually you have a 10-year balloon.
10-year balloon, it's usually amortized over 25 years. And so that 30-year fixed rate is a big deal.
Yeah, which nothing wrong with the 10-year balloon. You just have to know what you're getting into, because at the end of that 10-year, you got to sell or refinance. Well, what's the market doing in 10 years? We don't know that. And so that's the appeal of the true 30-year mortgage. It means make your payment every month for 30 years. You own the house. You never have a forced sale event other than did you pay the mortgage, right? Okay, so tell me this. You said 20% down.
Mm-hmm.
The way rates are going right now, I don't see anything cash flowing at 20% down.
Yes.
We've got to pull a lot of rabbits out of that.
Yeah, that's correct. And so I would always recommend at least 25% down. 30% down is good. And obviously the more money you put down, the lower your rate's going to be, right? So yes, if you're looking at it and you have restrictions on how much you can put down, 20% is a great option. But I would recommend putting down a little bit more to get the benefit of the lower rate. Obviously that helps cash flow. That's going to mean a lower loan amount, which is going to be, lower closing costs and everything. So, the more money you put down, the better it will be, but we do have different options depending on each individual investor.
It seems like you and I were talking a couple months ago that, and most investors know this, but when we talk about the mortgage rate, let's say the rate is 6%. And if the difference between that and a 5.5% rate is 50 basis points, 50 bips, if you want to sound cool. Did I sound cool, Jimmy?
You did.
Okay. See, Jimmy will always make you feel good. But traditionally, the difference between a 25% down rate and a 30% down rate was 25 basis points. But you were telling me that recently the market loves more equity, so it was more like 50 basis points. Is that still true?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. The market will fluctuate and move a little bit, but we're seeing that kind of hold strong. Right?
Yeah.
That sweet spot when getting conventional financing for investment properties is about 30% down. Where we see kind of that biggest spread versus down payment and lowest interest rate.
Because something interesting is happening in the market right now. Investors, we had really good market equilibrium with rates and prices for a long time, where in the correct markets, you could put 20% down and you could cash flow legitimately.
Yeah.
And just a note on 2 to 4 unit properties, which we love, it's a minimum of 25% down. But the problem that we're seeing right now is, I'm going to say there isn't market equilibrium. Just because you can put 20% down doesn't mean you'll cash flow. So something has to give. And so we're looking for all kinds of equilibrium that we can find there. So the nice thing about it is it's just math. You know, have us help you run different projections of what does this look like at 25 and 30 to see where the sweet spot is. Because right now the market is trying to make sense out of itself. Yeah. Okay, good. Let's go out front, take a look at the exterior. Jimmy, lead the way if you would.
Yeah, let's do it. It's a beautiful day.
It is a beautiful day. I'm clocking at about 72 degrees and we're outside, so the echo should be gone. But you can see the landscaping just went in on this property, and we got a noisy motorcycle showing up just in time for the live tour. Thanks, brother.
Cue the motorcycle.
Yeah, it's will you go tell him he needs a new muffler? Or is that the whole point? Okay.
Like he's testing one out right now.
I know, he's gonna test it out. So this out here is the development of Pinewood Trace. We're on the corner, and we're gonna walk through the development for a minute. We'll talk through some other ideas, but most notably, JT, when it comes to financing, we were just talking about conventional loans. And so sometimes people can't qualify for conventional loans. You know, I've heard it said that a conventional lender likes a W-2 borrower that makes 80 grand more than a self-employed borrower that makes 500.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you might go into something called a debt service coverage ratio loan or a DSCR loan. What is that?
Yeah, that's where the underwriting is based primarily on the property and not so much the borrower specifically, right? So we look at how the property is going to perform versus how much income and how many liabilities that specific borrower has. The nice thing that we're kind of seeing right now is typically and historically, there's been a massive spread between conventional financing and these DSCR loans. But with the higher borrowing costs currently, what we are seeing is that gap has closed a little bit. So, you know, the DSCR financing options are actually very similar to conventional financing options. One thing that you can expect with DSCR loans are higher fees, right? So that's why we typically kind of lean towards conventional financing, because that's going to give you the lowest rate with the lowest fees. But in the event that you don't qualify for conventional financing, the DSCR option is great. So
Excellent. Thank you. Let's go walk in the dirt. Come on, Jimmy. Let's do it.
Luckily, it's dried out a little bit.
Yeah, dried out. Beautiful, beautiful day in Birmingham. But you can see we're just moving around the bend here. On this property, we're not going to go in this one, but it's almost finished. The floor coverings are in there still. Probably 30 days out from C of O on this, Jimmy.
Yeah, I'd say we're probably around 3 to 4 weeks.
3 to 4. C of O being a certificate of occupancy. I'm just going to not assume that everybody knows the jargon today, even though most of you do. So
right now, these houses are pretty much finished. We're just tying in the utilities, making sure that everything's working properly, doing a final clean, and then landscaping, and they're ready to go.
okay.
So really, at the last few items, it's just the sequence of things, having the time for one thing to happen to trigger the next.
Yeah.
You see right here where we've got.
Here's your utility tie-in.
We've got some utility and some water taps going in actually today and tomorrow. So they're exposed. Once that's completed, be able to cover all that up, do final grade on the yards. You don't want to really put sod in until you do final grade. You'll have to kind of come back in and fix things. And then once landscaping goes in, punch the house out, final clean, and they're ready for a resident.
What does it mean to punch the house out?
So to punch a house out, you basically just do a thorough walkthrough, similar to like a move-in inspection. So you've really got a kind of a homeowners know it like a blue tape walk. Like if you're buying a house and you go through and make sure that the paint and everything looks good, all the drawers closed. So we do that. Then before a resident moves in, we'll actually do kind of a move-in inspection. So a whole nother step, making sure and document everything that's working properly. So then that way, 3 years down the road, when that resident moves out, we've got records of the condition of the home.
And you're not dealing with 30 complaints, 3 days after the tenant moves in.
That's right.
Let's hang out here for a second, guys.
That's the part we're very thorough on, because if you can capture it all in the front end, you're going to have little to no issues on the back end.
Yeah. Speaking of punch out, are you going to watch the Mike Tyson Logan Paul fight?
Yes. I actually thought that was fake news when I saw it.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to watch it.
Yeah, I don't know how I could not watch it. And who are you pulling for?
Tyson, of course.
Yeah, Tyson.
I feel like I have to.
Tyson.
Levi. Okay.
Our
Everybody wants
generation.
Mike Tyson to beat up Logan Paul.
Yeah.
Which is understandable. Okay, we got off track there. Okay, so this house, how far out from C of O are we here?
Yeah, I would say, probably in sequence, you're really just days behind the one before.
Yeah.
So you're still really about 3 to 4 weeks here, maybe 4 to 5, being conservative. The first few kind of slowed down a little bit because we were waiting on some water taps, which allowed these to catch up. So you're probably somewhere maybe 5 to 7 days behind each other conservatively. So, these, we're standing here, in another 6-7 weeks, we'll have move-ins for these as well.
That's great. Water taps, are you kind of at the mercy of the city here on those, or is it a private contractor?
No, you're at the mercy of the city.
Yeah.
And so Birmingham Water is kind of the overarching utility company, and then each municipality kind of has its own. So you really have to work within that footprint.
Gotcha.
But no supply chain issues. It's really just timing everything and timing the utility, the contractor with the actual utility company to come out and set those.
We didn't talk about this, but I'm sitting here looking at them. We've got 30-year asphalt shingles on these roofs. As an investor yourself in the market, how beat up does that roof get? How long is that usually going to last? Because I learned 30-year shingle doesn't mean your roof is going to be good for 30 years.
Yeah.
What's been your experience?
Yes, that's a great question. So these shingles here are not a 3-tab. So a 3-tab is going to lay completely flat. And then the architectural shingle is going to give it the dimension that you see here. So aesthetically, it's going to just look a lot better. But also the grade shingle that we use, it's going to have a longer lifespan. So even with the elements here being, summers, we really kind of have a little bit of everything. Not any one season is incredibly harsh, but you're going to get, 20 to 30 years out of these shingles here.
Okay.
And another key to that here in this climate, which I'm sure across the country is relative, is just proper ventilation. So then that way it expands the life of it. We do ridge vents on everything, making sure that everything's properly vented.
You can see that kind of bump at the top ridge.
Yeah.
That's the vent.
And really your ventilation's your biggest cause for deterioration of the shingle and compresses the lifespan of it. You get proper ventilation, you're going to expand that. So I would say that these should last the bulk of that 20 to 30 years, unless there's any hail damage.
So do you get hailstorms coming through here?
Yeah, you will. During the lifespan of these roofs, there will probably be a handful of hailstorms that will come through this area, just, spin off thunderstorms.
Yeah.
But obviously, that's no different than anywhere else. And, that would be something that, would just have to be inspected to make sure there's no damage.
Got to ask, hurricanes?
Nope. So really, as far as weather events here, our main thing would just be isolated tornadoes. So everyone kind of knows in the South, that's our thing is, unfortunately, we have tornadoes. Some are just very isolated. Tornado could not hit here and could hit a house, 150 yards that way.
Yeah.
Or you could have these kind of generational ones that are the longer tracks that we talked about earlier. But other than that, we don't really have any weather events that affect homes here.
So we were nerding out, technical term, nerding out a little earlier. It doesn't seem like tornadoes affect insurance premiums. Like I've developed in Indiana before, insurance is affordable. It doesn't seem to affect you here.
I would say it doesn't affect us at all. It's really just because of that. When they happen, they're so isolated.
The risk is spread out
Yeah.
versus a hurricane where you swamp 4 zip codes.
That's correct. Like,
Okay.
some places that have fire risk, or some places
Yeah.
that have flooding risk, or some places that have hurricane risk.
Yeah.
Those are, big risks that come in and can hit, thousands of homes.
Fire risk here.
No fire risk.
Shout out to Michael, one of our advisors, had to evacuate his home in Ventura County,
Oh, man.
California because of fire risk. We hope you're okay, buddy. He's okay, right?
He's all right.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
But yeah,
Checked
so
in on him.
weather
All right.
events, we really feel we're in good shape here and don't really have that as an issue, other than just very isolated. Insurance rates overall are very affordable for investment properties.
Well, while we're out here having fun in the sun, what about property taxes?
I would say the same. I mean, property taxes, so the millage rates can vary just municipality to municipality, but overall, a non-homestead, the tax rate out here is very low.
What does homestead mean?
So homestead would be just not your primary residence. So obviously there's
Second home,
second home.
rental property.
Exactly. Investment property, second home. You're always going to get favorable property taxes on your primary residence. And you got to claim the homestead. Obviously, if you don't do that, then your tax rates will be higher. But
Yeah.
I mean, comparatively, it's just a non-issue here. I mean, I would say that our taxes are so low that even that increase, which just doesn't move the needle.
One thing that always bothers me about property taxes on new construction is it's easy to look up the millage rate. Oh, there goes the generator. It's easy to look up the millage rate and decide how much am I going to be charged based on a certain value, but you don't know what the value is going to be. Some guy in a building downtown is going to decide that. So do they usually kind of hit right around market, or they lower for their assessed value?
I'm going to say lower. Yeah. I've never really seen that be an issue. Yeah. I mean, occasionally I'll come across someone just being from here, that their primary residence, they'll want to contest that. Yeah. But that's few and far between.
Right. So then it's not a big headache. We do a lot of work in Texas, and property taxes are a blood sport, right? Appealing your taxes regularly, and there are law firms that do that for, discounted prices and such. So probably safe to say that you're not going to be trying to outrun the tax man so much here.
Yeah. We've never actually seen that as an issue with any of our clients. So no.
Yeah, I looked it up. Alabama does have one of the lowest rates in the nation.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
probably the house behind us, somewhere around 100 to 150 a month.
Yeah. Okay. Let's walk some more, and let's go into this one that's under construction. Go around the dumpster. This one, loop around. We'll hit our 45. I didn't know we had our own branded Tyvek wrap.
You like that, huh?
Yeah, that's cool.
It's good. So this one right here, we're moving into the finishing stage. As you can see, he's completing the siding. We'll have gutters go on next. Sheetrocks and all the sheetrock finishing's been complete on the inside, so it's been prepped for paint. More than likely, all the trim's been completed. So next, going into the finishing stage would be cabinetry, all the set out, so the plumbing and electrical fixtures, and then final paint, floor. And then from there, obviously the outside will come to completion as well. Water taps will go in, as we've been talking about, landscaping, and then we'll move into the punch walk. We'll go through it, come up with the items that we want to make sure that they're done correctly, and then from there we'll go into leasing and then do a pre-lease walkthrough.
Tell, as we're going in, what is this siding made out of?
That's this final side.
Vinyl siding. Does it look like hardy plank to you?
It does, yeah. I didn't know until I kind of got close up to it and looked at it. It looks good.
Yeah, it does look good. And so we've kind of evolved a little bit to mixing up the vinyl siding to have just some dimension,
Yeah.
give it, some variation.
But vertical here, horizontal here.
So, so we always try and do that in any development. where we have some variety within a street to give it that pop. We have black windows on these, so it's black windows on the outside and white on the inside. These just turned out really good. So as you can see, they're finishing up all the trim work in here.
Yeah. What, the drywall, so this has been textured and taped, it's ready for paint.
That's right.
What's with that's different drywall? Moisture resistant, fire resistant?
Yeah, so in certain areas of the build, you're definitely going to have, sometimes fire resistant, which is going to be a little bit of a thicker sheetrock, and then you're also going to have moisture resistant in your kitchens and your bathrooms. So that's what you're seeing here. Everything's been finished, sanded. So I would say that once trim's complete, this house will be ready for paint, which I would say would be within a couple of days from what we're looking at right now.
And this is a identical floor plan, I can tell, to the one that we already reviewed.
That's right.
So this is as much as you're gonna see this one.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things, do more of what works and less of what doesn't. And this particular model just flows so well, as we were talking about,
Yeah.
kind of the 2 bedrooms on one side, the master, the openness in the middle.
Well, you can dial in what it costs to build this thing, so then you can explore more sites, because
That's right.
your main variable is land acquisition and development.
Yeah,
The construction is a very, very small variable.
that's right. So you can kind of shrink and expand the same house too,
Yeah.
to make it fit for various different needs.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, let's go, let's check out the rest of the Pinewood Trace, and we'll talk a little bit about various ways to invest, because it's not just about the house, it's about the financing and how you approach it. So, to kind of revisit what we talked about earlier, you said how many homes again?
So we'll have 29 doors.
29 doors. Very good phrasing, because at the end, the third phase are how many duplexes?
So there'll be 6 duplex units, a total of 12 doors, basically.
12 doors. Okay. So my math is saying that, yeah, we've got 29 minus 12. That's how many SFRs, single family dwelling. And the first phase of those, these are built and they will be sold at completion. In fact, it just hit our website last night. And so then, up until the duplexes, and I believe including the duplexes, those get sold with construction loan, yes?
That's correct. Yeah, we'll do a slightly different model on this.
Okay, so these all the way through the cul-de-sac, and we'll come back to that in a second, but that street through there, that's where they're laying a bunch of utilities. We think it's either gas or fiber. And then through those, that's the land that was acquired that's under development now. So
That's correct.
these are all the things that you like to see when you're going into a new subdivision. You like to see more happening and more growth, especially when we're only 20 minutes from downtown Birmingham.
Right.
So that's good to see. So this was all through here, that cul-de-sac along that tree line, Levi, and then immediately to the right where JT is, that middle island, you're going to have more single family homes go in there. So
Yeah,
this
so-
will be an active neighborhood here in about a year.
Yeah, so again, those first 5, we're calling that phase 1, and we had to kind of space them out because of some permitting things that we were navigating with the county. But phase 2, which we're walking into right now, will be a total of 12 units, detached single family homes. And so we'll start right here on this lot, which will be number 6, and we'll just kind of wrap around the cul-de-sac here. We'll go pretty much all the way down this backside, and then this middle part, there'll be 4 in the middle. And so we've got
4 on each side.
4 total.
Oh, 4 total.
Yeah,
They
4
got a
total.
deep backyard.
Deep backyard. These lots are actually fairly deep. Even the smaller ones are about 130 to 150 foot deep. And so what we're doing in the island, and really what we're doing on phase 2, is we've got 3 models. It's going to be 3 different sizes. So that way we'll have a variation from 1,300 square foot up to say 1,550. And we'll obviously put the larger homes on the island to kind of give it the aesthetics that we're after. And then on some of these smaller lots on the side over here, we'll put the 1,300 square foot, and then we'll blend in the 14 and just make it, it'll look very good and blended, not compartmentalized.
Got it.
Well, we didn't have very healthy breakfast, so let's get some steps in.
Yeah,
Let's
do it.
go this way. So, as we walk, and Levi will just get you as many shots as he can, but you know, Birmingham is very heavily wooded, right? If it wasn't for all the work going on back there, you feel like it's just, you're in your own little world back here. But like I said, we're 20 minutes from downtown, and it's not like it's just farmland between here and there. It's city the whole way. But one thing that's important to note, and we'll be releasing more information on this probably in the next week or two, is there 3 ways that you can acquire rental properties through the Peak Group. And one of them we already explained. It's very straightforward. It's the CO model, all those homes that you can see across the island over there. Homes that are built, they're ready for occupancy. Many times they already have a tenant before you close. Nice, easy to understand, low risk, because you know what your purchase price is, you know what the market rent is, and there's a lease to back it up. You can get a home inspection on a brand new home. So it's pretty simple to quantify what you're dealing with there. So the drawback to that is, for a company like us to be able to bring that to the table for you, the investor, we're going to sell that at market, right? It's going to be a market price, because that's what it takes for us to get there and for it to be worth our time too. So you've got to kind of say it's that risk reward component. How much risk do you want to take for how much reward? If you've got the appetite to amp that risk up a little bit and say, I'm willing to wait, then the lots that we're walking through right now fall under the second tier, which is the investor build model. So this is where we've got these lots. They're permitted, Jimmy?
These lots are permitted.
Okay.
Just selected the layout, so
Yeah.
they're ready to go.
So they're permitted. So the development risk is gone. It's not like you're buying some ground and then you got to cross your fingers that the city is going to approve what you want to do. That risk is taken out of the equation. Now it's just a question of the bill. And so what the Peak Group does occasionally is we'll bring a house, a duplex, or a fourplex to you on the investor build model, where JT, walking off to my right, is going to collect your financials, taxes, and bank statements and everything. And he's going to approve you for a Fannie Mae, what it's called, AUS, automated underwriting system.
Yep,
Did I get it right?
Yep, automated underwriting.
Automated underwriting. He takes that to a construction lender, which is usually a community bank or credit union in the area, and says, meet Bob, the investor. He wants to build this as an investment. He's approved for a Fannie Mae loan, and that's how the bank knows they're going to get paid off. So they're going to get you're going to put 25% down. You're going to close on a construction loan, and you own this chunk of dirt right here. Not Jimmy, the actual dirt. Okay. But you own this chunk of dirt, and then Peak Construction comes in and they pull from that credit line, and you get charged interest along the way, right? You get to borrow a couple $100,000 to build a home. They're going to charge you for it. And so you're going to prepay that, right? You're going to put that interest with the bank when you close. And how long does that home take to build here, Jimmy?
I'd say, from slab to CO, right around 75 days.
75 days.
So slab to CO, so slab would be a lot like behind us. That
Yeah.
would be just kind of graded out.
Yeah.
And we'd have our slab poured. So once the slab's poured, framing starts, you're about 75 days.
Well, we probably have to look at our model. We might be a little heavy on the interest reserves.
Because right now we're collecting 12 months. So
Of course. And the bank's like, yes.
yes,
Yeah.
Yes, put that cash in our
So
bank.
I usually, timing of weather, once you can get that done and the house dried in, it flows a lot.
What does
quicker.
dried in mean?
The dried in is basically when the house is framed and wrapped, it's got its roof on it. So could be without windows still, but it's dried in really from the elements.
I see. Okay, so we go through that. You're going to be in construction. I'm going to say like 90 to 120 days, something like that. So that's, your money's out about 30 days out from the projected CO or the projected completion. JT is going to get back with you. He's going to collect updated bank statements. Don't buy a Lamborghini during construction. You still got to qualify for the long-term loan. Then JT is going to finish it off with either a Fannie Mae 30-year fixed loan or a DSCR. So why would you do that? Why would you say, why would you not wait for a CO'd property? Well, at the Peak Group, we're going to have to incentivize you to do that model. and there's things about it that make it easier for us to operate. So we got to give you some kind of a wholesale price, right? So you're gonna get some savings on your pricing if you go with the investor build model. And like I said, your risk is, you've got a fixed bid with us. We've got to build it for a certain price, but can rents change? Can things change in the world between when you close and when you get your C of O? They sure can. I mean, 90 to 120 days, that's everybody's got to kind of consider how much risk that really is and what you can tolerate. So before we check out the third phase and talk about that and then wrap it up and then leave it to you fellas for any further comments, or the guy behind the camera, he can say stuff too. He does exist. Let's talk about the third model. This is something that we're launching new. So we were talking about the BRRRR, right? BRRR. And that's a well-known term in residential real estate investing. Stands for buy, renovate, rent, refinance. And we were talking about, could we just do this for investors who want to take more risk and more return and make capital go further, but understand that they're going through a process here. What should we call it? And we just jokingly said concierge BRRRR. We haven't been able to get rid of it, have we?
We haven't.
We keep calling it that.
It's a good name.
One of you guys needs to try something else and see if that sticks. But for now, it's concierge BRRRR, which means, you're an investor with maybe $250,000 to invest. The whole idea is, can we get you 8 to 10 homes with that $250,000? And so, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Let's go through the BRRRR, right? The buy.
Yep.
Jimmy's got a network of wholesalers and all kinds of other ways to find homes in already established neighborhoods. These homes are beat up, right? They hoarder houses,
Yeah.
meth labs.
So we really want to
everything.
find, the worst house in the best neighborhood.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of opportunity for that still around Birmingham, and just through our internal efforts and our network, we've got a pretty good supply of those coming in our pipeline.
Okay. So Jimmy's going to produce, homes that are built in the 80s,
Yeah.
right? Something like that. And they're going to need $50,000 worth of work. 60, 40, it kind of depends, right?
Yeah, I think that's a good target. And, our process is, that we would scope that out ahead of time.
Yeah. And trying to avoid just massive rehabs, right? But, can we do some electrical, HVAC, roofing, cosmetic? I think you called it a heavy cosmetic, right?
Yeah. So I would say that the majority of these homes would be just heavy cosmetic. We could maybe use some of the cabinetry, but reface them, put new doors on it, new hardware, sometimes replace it altogether. But, when we identify it, we'll go through and scope it very thoroughly and really look for those things that I would call just no-goes that we would pass on. So, major issues that we could avoid an investor from buying something that they either wouldn't know how to find or look for or have the resources to have it checked out.
Yeah. Okay. So buy, renovate, and I would add to the way they're purchasing this is through the debt fund that we're starting up. JT is going to make sure you qualify for conventional financing on the front end. You're going to put a down payment in. Our company loans the funds for the hard money or the private capital to buy that house. There's also a credit line to pull from to pay those renovation bills. And so once we're renovated, we rent, right? And you had said earlier that it's like a two weeks. You're a week on the market, you collect some applications, decline a few, accept one,
Right.
And 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks later, the tenant's moving in.
That's correct. I would think that our average renovation time would be about 6 weeks, and then probably average lease up would be about 2.
Okay. And so now we're renovated, and likely, let's say we bought the house for $90,000. It's got, and so now we're all in 140-ish.
Yep.
What do you think appraisal in like a test case would be?
So the appraisal in that situation would probably be somewhere around 210 to 230.
210 to 230. So then the premise, JT, is could we pull some of our equity out, do a refinance and pay off the private capital, and now you're in a 30-year fixed rate mortgage?
Yes, that is exactly right. And so that's what makes this so unique and actually really exciting, right?
Yeah.
Because you have the ability to come in, buy a home using the peak debt fund. And then when we get to the refinance portion, you can pull out some of those invested funds to rinse and repeat and go do it again.
Rinse and repeat and do it again. And so you're in that 30-year fixed rate debt. And I would just add, so that whole process probably took what, 4 months?
I think it's fair.
4 months. And we say it's fair. You have to be the kind of investor with the mentality that you can handle a couple of bumps in the road on something like this. We might tell you a $50,000 bid on the renovation. But they start digging in and there's
Yeah.
this problem or that problem, right? Things are not going to go exactly according to plan. We can certainly guarantee you that.
And we'll also
Right.
scope it with some contingency involved as well.
Yeah.
So, and we feel like we can identify the big problems that otherwise may have been missed, but we'll also scope it with some contingency to absorb that. So
Correct.
then that way it's not a complete curveball.
Yeah.
But hey, we did have this happen, but we had, planned for it.
And it might happen that you eat through the contingency, but
Yeah.
the idea is that, what's a fair amount to assume for the unexpected. And so now you can refinance, you can pull some cash out, and maybe you've got 2 of these,
Mhm.
3 of these going at the same time. And so the intent here is we're going to have typically 2 to 3 investors in the concierge BRRRR program at a time. We're going to have 10 renovations going at a time. And an investor is probably going to take 6 to 8 months to cycle out of that program, but can then end up with up to 10 homes
Mhm.
with conventional financing. Can you refinance with a DSCR loan over the top of all of them and free up your Fannie Mae loans at the end of that, conceivably?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what we've seen some borrowers do is they do this, they accumulate, let's say, 6 or 7 homes over the course of this period. And then we transfer all of those 7 loans into one debt service cover ratio loan.
Yeah.
And then that will free up the rest of their Fannie Freddie loans. And that, you can have up to 10 Fannie Freddie loans.
And they're very coveted loans because they're the best terms.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much money you make, you only get 10.
Mhm.
So yeah. And I would conclude, or I would argue rather, every investor should own 10 fourplexes
Mhm.
in Fannie Mae loans. But this is a great way to boost your net worth, accelerate your returns. Because I told an investor to this the other day, get 10 fourplexes, and they laughed like that was never possible. I said, no, it's real life monopoly. You do something like this, you can
Mhm.
increase your net worth and your balance sheet, and then you're doing fourplexes. You load those up, and you can leave your homes in a DSCR or something like that if you had to. So ultimately, the concierge BRRRR is for those that want to be most aggressive. You're going to be a little more involved. The process takes some time to unfold. It's a little uncertain along the way, but the return as a percentage is going to be the highest. So concierge BRRRR, we have a little higher risk, we have higher return. In the middle, we have investor build, elevated risk, better return, and then we have CO, right, which is just vanilla, easy, right? Probably buying cap rates around 6% on that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So, well, good.
Yeah.
Levi, if you could pan down here, this is phase 3 of Pinewood Trace. Jimmy, how many duplexes did you say again?
Yeah, so right now it's scoped for 6. So this is the far east side of the property. This total site is a little over 15 acres. As you could probably tell as we were walking around, we've got underground power, which is just a big plus out here aesthetically and also for sustainability. It keeps the power from going down as often. We also have street lights. So it's very well lit out here. We did that intentionally. I mean,
that's a real thing in
it is a
build-to-rent
real thing.
community.
And
Yeah.
man, I've been out here at night and watched them come on, and it's very well illuminated. So from a resident standpoint,
Yeah.
safety and all those things, I would consider, Hueytown as a bedroom community, as we were talking about. It's only 20, 25 minutes from downtown, good school systems, access to jobs. This it's kind of a little on the north side, so it could feel a little rural, but as I mentioned, that when our first resident told me, she said, I didn't realize how close it was to everything.
Yeah.
When she had gotten out here and left, called me back. So it's really kind of given it a neat kind of suburb feel, but a little bit in a bedroom community that's in an affordable market. So and over here, we've got the 6 lots that will be the duplexes that we've talked about with those 12 additional doors. And as we move through phase 2, we'll be ironing out all the wrinkles in the timeline on that.
Okay. And you're, 3-4 miles to the grocery stores and the restaurants and the gas stations and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, it's very, very, very close to all the things. Very quiet out here. So definitely a great community that we're excited about and proud of. And it's really a big deal. I mean, yesterday getting our first approved application, which, great resident. It's really making this thing come to life.
Awesome. Well, first application, you're the first ones to see it. It just hit the website barely. I checked late last night.
Yeah.
So this is the first that we've said about it to anybody. We're excited. We hope you join us in Pinewood Trace. Anything that you guys forgot to say, or Levi, you too, that you want to add?
Yeah, I would just, I just want to pipe in and say, if you have any questions about financing, please reach out. I have a lot of investors that reach out and are like, oh, I'm not going to qualify for this, or this is just not something that I can, do at this time. And, we specialize in helping investors finance their rental properties. And so, we have a lot of great options out there. And, a lot of times investors are kind of surprised at what they can qualify for. Maybe it was a little bit easier process than they, thought it might be. So if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I specifically really love this development just because it's a low barrier to entry from a price standpoint. So if you're looking to get in as kind of one of your, first investment properties, that's great. But we've also had seasoned investors buy this as well, just because it performs so well. So this is a great opportunity to get in a great development for a great price.
Jimmy, anything?
The other thing I'll add, and we briefly talked about it, is property management. So, we pride ourselves in property management. We've got a great established team, good systems and processes. And so whether it's the Burr or whether it's this development that we're standing in right now, we time our leasing efforts with residents, and then really, pride ourselves on maintaining those residents and doing a good job. So that's something else that, if you're interested as you get to that point in the process, that we can have a conversation with one of our property management team members and ask all the questions and take a deeper dive into that.
Great. So thank you for joining. The live video is going to cut in just a moment. And when we post this on the website, we're going to add on the other footage that we took of one of the other communities and one of the BRR concierge Burr examples. So we're happy that you joined us. We'll probably do one of these again in DFW in January sometime. So watch for that. Contact us at www.thepeak.group if you'd like to chat further. And we hope to hear from you soon. I was actually told me crazy. It goes fast when you get going.